Oh, hello friends. As you would have just watched, I created a fun little Bookopoly board game, and we're gonna use this to set our October TBR. Not gonna lie, I'm so happy with how this turned out. I was worried I was gonna have to do a lot of doodling, which I am no artiste. If you watch my reading sports romances vlog, you would have seen that I got a bunch of stickers for my Kindle. I was able to repurpose a lot of those stickers and use them here. So I think we're going to pick an 8-book TBR today. And obviously we have a whole bunch of different prompts that we'll likely choose from. So let's go ahead, play this game, and see what books we're gonna be reading this month. I tried to zoom in so you guys can see this pretty clearly. We have our little money bags placeholder from Monopoly, and that's what we're gonna be using within our little game. I should probably get some dice as well. Uno momento. Okay, I just got 1 dice because I think 2 would get us across the board just way too quickly. So let's go ahead and do our first roll. 3. 1, 2, 3. So we've landed on a romance pick. Now, while this determines the genre, it really is just a free pick for some type of romance. So for our first book pick, keeping in mind the romance prompt, but also what time of year it is, I want some spooky reads. I'm doing a paranormal romance. It includes vampires. Could go so many different ways. I feel like this is a book talk OG book. I swear I've heard a lot of people talk about it a year or 2 ago. I'm gonna finally be reading My Roommate is a Vampire. I've had this on my TBR for forever. I've wanted to read it for the longest time, but I specifically have saved it for the fall season. I know that the female main character finds this ad for a really cheap apartment in New York City, and then she ends up moving in with the guy who is hundreds of years old, and as the title would suggest, a vampire. I don't think it's gonna be that deep. I think it's just gonna be kind of silly and cute, but I'm excited nonetheless. So that is our first book pick. Roll number 2. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. Another romance. Okay. I'm hoping for some more diversity. Luckily, our next romance isn't until all the way over here. On our next romance pick, which this is not how I saw the monthly TBR going. Our second book pick is another romance. I decided to pick something off of my physical TBR, and I chose Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. I'm trying to think if I've had this on a monthly TBR before. Can't really remember. I don't know if I have. In all honesty, Hazelwood isn't my favorite. I think she does spice well, but I do think her stories are very samey, and the quirkiness of her female main characters isn't my favorite. I've heard that this female main character is a little less quirky, and she takes some slight deviations with this relationship. Typically, she's within some type of the 3-star range whenever I read her books. I'm hoping this is at least 3.5 or above. Her books do read super duper quickly, which, knowing that's on the TBR, is always very motivating to pick it up. The hardest books on the TBR are huge fantasies that you know might drag. This is definitely not the case with this one. This is going to be a light, fluffy rom-com between 2 physicists. It's kind of rivals to lovers because she's a theoretical physicist and he's a experimental. Theoretical versus experimental, and supposedly those 2 don't get along. So adding Love Theoretically to the TBR. Okay, let's see what we can get that's not romance. 1. Fantasy. Kind of the same idea as romance. Our fantasy pick is just going to be a free pick within the fantasy genre. One thing I do have to mention since we landed on this slot is this is my favorite sticker out of all of them. The little dragon on the stack of books. So freaking cute. Book 3, a fantasy, the whole point of this video. Our first fantasy is going to be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It is currently on KU. I also do have it as an audiobook on Audible. I have heard so many amazing things. This is the top rated, highest rated book on my entire Goodreads TBR list. Everyone and their moms raves about Fourth Wing. I've heard the second book is a bit of a letdown. I'm not gonna let that stop me. I still think it'll be worth it. And I know that book 3 comes out relatively soon. So I just wanna be up to date with this series and prepared so that I can lean into the hype whenever book 3 comes out. Okay, book 4. 2. 1, 2. Okay, so we're forced to pick something from our physical TBR, which is good. We're always wanting to work down the physical TBR. As this says, so many books, so little time. So we will go and see what we have available upstairs. Book 4, getting a chance to dip into our physical TBR again. I actually have the perfect book for this. I picked this up in one of our weekly vlogs where I went to Chamblin's Books. Sells a lot of used books for really cheap. Picked up Witches Get Stuff Done. I literally know nothing about this book, only the fact that I was able to get it for a few bucks and that it's categorized as a romance. But again, I was saving this for the spooky season. Witches are in the title. That's literally all I know. I've never heard anyone talk about this, and it hasn't been rated that many times on Goodreads. It looks like she moves into a new town called Starfall Point. How freaking cute is that? She inherits a journal and a haunted house whenever her aunt passes away. Within the home is a live-in ghost butler who instructs her on all things witchy. This sounds like literally the perfect book for October. It's really short. It's less than 300 pages. The font is big. We're just here for a silly, goofy time, and I am excited. Already halfway done. Let's see what book 5 is going to be. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm so happy. I was really wanting to land on one of these. We have our TBR jar to choose from. Let's go ahead and choose the prompt so you guys can get excited about what we pick. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is another physical TBR prompt. Another physical TBR pick. I think this game was trying to tell me something. For our physical TBR, I hope you guys are excited for this because I know I am. I'm gonna be reading Twilight. I have owned this since I was like 10 years old. Specifically, my mom has owned this since I was 10 years old. But then whenever I moved away, I stole the entire Twilight set from her, so sorry mom. I shockingly haven't read this series even though I love the movies. They hit on the nostalgia level 10 out of 10. I don't even care that the first movie is so poorly acted. It makes me happy every time I watch it. I'm so very curious to see how it compares to the books. Considering I know everything that happens within these books, I think it'll be fairly easy to read. It is just under 500 pages, but these margins are huge. So I think we'll be able to read this pretty quick and I'm excited. I think I might do a fun little vlog while reading this, so stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and pick our 6th book. 1. We have another romance. This is like the one month that I didn't really want to get a lot of romances because it's spooky season. I want fantasies. I want vampires. I want witches. Why do I keep getting romances? Another romance. I had to start getting creative on this one because there's not that many more romances I wanted to get to this month. So I picked Spookily Yours, and I'm not even sure who the author is. Jennifer Chipman. I have heard next to no one talk about this. The only reason I had this on my TBR is I saw my friend add this to her TBR and it just looked cute. If there was ever a time to read this book, it's in October. I guess this girl's cat is a demon and then he becomes a human and they fall in love. I have no idea. I think it's on the spicier side. Again, going into this pretty much blind since no one I know has talked about this, but just happy for a little kitschy, witchy, spooky little time. And it's on KU, so if I end up not liking it, no harm, no foul. But I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on if I like it or not. Let's go ahead and pick book 7. Another one. Oh, lovely. A book I've been avoiding. Perfect. This is like the main prompt I didn't want to get, so that's awesome. Really wasn't excited for this prompt. I think this is the worst one out of everything today. The book I've been avoiding. Y'all, I am so scared of this book. The Zodiac Academy by the Twisted Sisters, Caroline Peckham and Susanne Valenti. I have not read anything by them previously. This is the first book in the Zodiac Academy, which is like a 12-book series, by the way. I've put this on one TBR before and I just never got to it because I'm just scared of it. Main thing I'm worried about is that we follow these twins who start going to the Zodiac Academy and they're just automatically hated. I don't think they're from around there. They don't know these people and they get like bullied by their love interests and it's like a bully romance. Also, this book just like feels huge. Compared to our little romance, like it's bigger and then it's way thicker as well. I have just not wanted to read this. I bought this honestly at this point like 2 or 3 years ago and it's just been sitting on my shelves. if I'm going to read this book, I mean, I guess this month is the time, but that doesn't mean I'm happy about it. And for our final book, let's see what we're choosing from. That was a very dramatic roll. We have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Back to another fantasy. Love to see it. Let's go ahead and see what my last book is going to be. Our final book pick. I'm honestly sad. This was so fun. We definitely have to do this again. Our final book pick is a fantasy. I'm going to finally finish the All Souls series. Started off with The Discovery of Witches. Absolutely fell in love with that book and the show that goes along with it. First book was a 5 stars. However, every book after that just went downhill. But this is the 5th and final book. I've made it this far. I feel like just in my soul, I need to finish it out so that I can check the box on a completed series. I didn't want to risk wasting money if by chance I don't like this one because it is pretty long. So I'm going to get this as an ebook from my library. This series follows it starts off with a human woman who realizes that she is a witch and has incredible powers. Her name is Diana. She gets introduced to Matthew, who is like a 1500-year-old vampire. Witches and vampires are not supposed to commingle or be in relationships together. However, they fall in love, and there's a huge domino effect that happens after that because there's a congregation of witches, vampires, and demons kind of set the rules for all of the creatures, and they do not like that these two are together. We followed them along their journey of falling in love, Diana realizing her powers, and now we're wrapping up their story. I thought it was pretty wrapped up in book 3, and then book 4 we just followed a side character and got way more information on his background. And then now in book 5, I guess things weren't wrapped up. Again, I don't have the highest hopes, but I do think it will be very satisfying to finish that series and get it done with. We have reached the end of setting our TBR. More romance in here than I expected, but I feel like we have a lot of fantasy subplots still going on. We have witches, we have vampires, we have spooky season. I'm excited to see what October has in store. I already have 2 different reading vlogs planned for this month. If you have any other reading vlog suggestions or TBR prompts or things you'd like to see, don't hesitate in letting me know. Just one more bit of screen time for my bookopoly just because I'm proud of her. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And I will leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.